Okay, we're ready. Everybody's ready, right?
Yes, ma'am.
You ready? So good
Welcome,
evening.
everybody.
Thank you. Welcome. Let's get this. So today is December the 18th and it is 4:03. This meeting is now called to order. And we have a quorum. For the record, we have Mr. Axer, Ms. Sanchez, Ms. Robles, myself.
Dr. Graham, Ms. Naida let us know that she would be running late. She may not be able to make this meeting. Asked if we would have quorum without her. Fortunately, we do. She will be at the regular board meeting.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Did we have anybody sign up for open forum?
No.
Okay, so with that, Mr. Lovato, I think you're on.
Well, thank you. Before I get started, I just want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. It's coming up. I hope you have a wonderful holiday. I've been asked by Dr. Sonata to present a project that we've got going on. It's that we're proposing to move forward, I should say. It's the traffic flow modifications for the areas between the A building and the B building. Those of you who've been around here may have noticed that we kind of have an issue in this area where traffic seems to flow erratically and does whatever it wants. So our goal here in the project is to correct that. Currently, probably the most pressing issue is this crosswalk issue here. It's unsafe, and this slope, or this area here, since it's just a painted sidewalk, is not ADA compliant either. So we're hoping to solve all that issues by redoing some of this issue. Currently, we have what you consider 1, 2, 3, a four-way stop, but it doesn't work well because of this congestion here and the fact that we have no way to actually guide the traffic to stay on the highway.
Everyone's situated with the view. Just
So
want
you
to make,
understand
everyone,
where we
just
are?
want to make sure.
The
I've
A
seen it,
building is
so I
right
know.
over here, the B building warehouse is right here, and the fountains. To make matters worse, the asphalt in this area is in terrible condition. So what we did is we proposed this correction here. What we're gonna do is basically go from a four-way stop to a three-way stop. The biggest pressing issue is we'll actually create a sidewalk with resting areas for wheelchairs here. It will also have guide rails, a guide rail along this rock wall here, which, as you probably all know, is quite a drop. So that's going to be a good add right there. They'll have two guide rails because of the slope. The wheelchair people have to use their hands to pull them up. It is ADA compliant, not the best, but there's nothing we can do about the slope here, so we'll have to work with that there. But it is ADA compliant. The intersection now will be controlled. The way we propose to control it is actually to block off this exit here. We'll be putting a curb with gravel. This area here will be a concrete pad, as will right here. We're going to have the traffic, or the pedestrian traffic, go from this way along here, and then that'll funnel them up to the sidewalk area. These two concrete islands will actually force the traffic to flow and stay in the lanes, rather than come around the stops and kind of drive through here erratically. And in addition to that, we'll also be replacing all of the asphalt pavement there. When about 3 weeks ago, I think it was, I showed this to Cabinet, and Mr. Flores is here, no he's not. He asked that we come up with an option B because he was concerned that by blocking this area off in times of heavy congestion, we'd have a difficult time getting all the traffic out. So we came up with option B, which is similar. We no longer have the median here, we put a gate here. And what we're able to do is actually, when needed, we can open these gates and have traffic come out of the four-way area. But this will require traffic control officers. That'll have to be coordinated and only be used when we have special events here.
Can you take out the bumps because there's such a hassle?
I'm sorry? Oh, yes, that will also eliminate the speed bumps in that area. Because actually, if you go back here, the reason for the speed bumps that are right through here right now is twofold. We have to slow the traffic down And by creating these islands, we'll be able to do that.
No, that's not taking any of the parking spaces away at all.
Oh, actually, no, one of the benefits, which I thank you, I forgot to mention, is that by doing this, we actually create 6 new spaces. And none of the spaces in this area will be eliminated.
Go ahead, Mr. Jones.
Why gravel?
Pardon?
Why gravel?
Oh, it's just proposed right now. This design has not been completed. It could be concrete, it could be landscaping, anything.
So somebody just arbitrarily said gravel.
At this point, yes, because this was a proposal that, that the architect drew.
Just as an observation, in West Texas, particularly El Paso, gravel collects a lot of dirt.
Yes, it does.
And,
We
It
do have
requires a
one.
lot of maintenance to take care of.
and if somebody's on a wheelchair, would they
Well,
go around
actually,
it?
that wouldn't be an issue because through here, this is all concrete leading up to that area.
Oh, I see, because the gravel
gravel was on the
I thought the gravel was also.
But that could be curb stop, it could be landscaping, anything we decided to leave at this point. We haven't really made that decision yet. I haven't come to that point in time.
So, the timeline, Mr. Lebat, so there's the cost of, one of the
Uh,
first reasons that I wanted to bring it to the board. It's a substantial investment by the institution. And then it's gonna take time to get this complete, and you, along with you, my office, along with you, each of you as board members, will more than likely receive phone calls.
This is the timeline. Whatever part, then
As long as we're talking cost, then where's the money coming from?
Mr. Lobato, what we set aside for projects is where we would have it. We do that annually, Mr.
Okay, so
Usher.
this is a contingency?
That's
It's a project reserve.
It's a
It's
project.
project reserve, we have 140,000 of this set aside already.
How will that affect the traffic that's going in and out of the fountains?
Well, the main reason for this is to provide a safer environment for ourselves because of that traffic, I'm sorry. That traffic has created a situation there which is not good for any of us, them or us. So we're hoping to correct that. And I do plan to work with them. Morena Cardenas, we hopefully can complete the design by the end of next month. As I note here, we'll need to coordinate with the fountains. I can do that concurrently with the design as that goes on. And then we plan to use a competitive seal proposal, hopefully advertised in February. If that works well, we'll select the contract by April 2020, bring it for your approval in May, and we can start construction in June with an estimated construction period of 6 weeks.
And so did we check the MOU or whatever agreement we have made with the fountains to make sure we're not encroaching on any?
Actually, we've routed that through legal at this point, but we're still awaiting a response there, but we will have to look at that and like I say, coordinate and discuss it with fountains.
Sounds good. We have a motion?
There's no action, right?
No action.
It's just
There's no
a-
action.
Not yet,
Information?
we bring it back, we just wanted to make the board aware of where we are and obviously get input from you. You all drive that road as do I and many of the members of the team. Safety and security of our faculty, staff, students is paramount, so we do want to make it safer. At the same time, we know that this will be an inconvenience. In the past, we have worked with the fountains. We actually own the road. However, there is language in the contract that indicates anytime that we're going to be doing anything that we work in partnership with each other, we've gone through legal, not current legal, in the past to do that. Obviously, Mr. Ortega and his colleagues will provide us with the guidance, but we truly wanted to get input from the board. From my perspective, I'm comfortable with either option. But really wanted to get your input, number one, and then provide somewhat of a heads up, because the calls, once we move forward, once we go through the notification, there will be calls. I'll give you examples. We have signage that indicates that you have to have parking permits to park in our space. The general manager for the fountains and I have had many conversations over that till we finally got to a point where they felt comfortable with signage that we were able to put up. They felt that was not, by saying you had to have permits, that was stymieing their flow of traffic. I told them, as someone who's here a lot, I see a lot of traffic go through. I don't think it's stymied anything, but we came to a resolution. And again, prior legal guided us through those respective conversations so that we were all on the same page. It gets a little contentious at times. We all want the best for both the fountains and the college. But Mr. Ortega and his colleagues will guide us through that. But we did want the board to see it both on cost. It is a significant investment. We do have it within the budget, but then also on the inconvenience that it will create.
Cost.
And we chose the summer because we feel like maybe the least
Agreed.
amount of people on this location.
Yeah, we're looking at the heaviest use right now,
Yes.
coming up for.
Any comments or questions from any members of the board? Are you all comfortable with us moving forward?
I like the signs that we have on the side when you're coming from the fountains, that are very clear to see there. If you can conceptualize anything on that gravel area, that would also, give more publicity to the college, have the name, and so people know that it belongs to the college.
Probably a building, probably identical, A building, B building, something similar we have coming in Viscount. Thank you all.
Thank you, Mr. Lord.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Next.
All afternoon, board members, Dr. Graham, Dr. Serrata. We have a pretty short meeting today. Not a whole lot has happened since the last time we met in terms of news, so, which is good. So starting with Mission, this project is going very well. They have a pretty good workload. They're moving right along, as you can tell. This will happen, the building's pretty much looking like it's gonna look in the final version. We are having a meeting tomorrow with the president of Clinco tomorrow afternoon. One of the things we're gonna discuss is they did get a week behind. And usually a week, it's not that bad at all, but in this case, being so close to the completion date, we really need to get their attention. So we're gonna be discussing that tomorrow as well. The good news is that we actually met with the fire marshal, and he pretty much told us that we can move in anything we want as long as there's no people in there. So that's gonna help us tremendously. That way we got a big break on that. So we're still pretty optimistic that, there's gonna be some pushing at the end, but that we'll be able to open up. We'll probably tomorrow get a little better feeling after we talk to the president, and I'll definitely report that in January.
By no people, you mean no students?
No students, no
Or staff.
faculty, no staff, basically just the workers. And but the big break we catch is because now we can move the furniture in, so that's really helpful. So nothing's changed here, still about the same level of confidence. We still have it's basically the same slide. And as far as they're starting to recover a little bit on the building, which is good. Same thing with the S-curve, it's starting to bend just a little bit. Going on to Rio Grande, this project is moving along. This area here, this area here, they actually poured that at 2:30 in the morning, not this morning, yesterday morning. And the interesting thing now is that now this is really the first bit of the 6th floor, which is the occupied space. So now, if you recall, they would do this side and move here, and then they would do the ramp. Now, since it's a straight shot across, after this one, they're gonna pour the middle and then pour the other area. So, right now, we got that one, so we'll make 2 more for the 6th floor, and then 3 more for the 7th floor, and then 3 more for the roof. And they should be, done with that portion of it. So, this is basically the status. This area here is actually going to end up being a little taller than that building right back behind there. But they're moving well. They're managing the project well. So we'll see. As far as the schedule, nothing's changed since last time. We're still a little bit on that side of confidence just because we still got a lot of time to go and a lot of things still could happen, so that's why I left. Yes, sir.
I forgot, classroom building, see, levels 5 and 6.
6 and 7.
6 and 7.
Yes, sir.
Classrooms, labs, are the walls prefab?
No,
Are you gonna pour walls also?
no, they'll be framed. They'll be framed with sheetrock, with metal studs.
Oh, okay.
Sheetrock inside, and outside will be just a veneer. Basically like, like Mission, El Paso, or Northwest,
Oh.
basically the same thing. And so this is the building, it's pretty steady, it's going, right along. By there, so, this building, it's looking great. There is, good news, as you can tell, they've done quite a bit of progress. And they already started casework, putting this for the labs. The floors are starting to look more finished. So overall, they're doing good, they picked up. The thing is, we got a little over a month to go, so they have a lot to do still. They actually, this hasn't changed since last time. I moved this a little bit that way. See, this is where it was last time, the gray one, and it's still low confidence, to be honest. They're still low confidence. The thing that's good is this. So, as of recently, they almost doubled that manpower. Now, this corresponds to about 2-3 weeks, so they have to sustain this. From a standpoint of administrative personnel, they were at 2.5 people. They brought in 2.5 by meaning one of the individuals was half-time. Now they have 8 people full-time. So they are demonstrating a willingness to move along. Now, is this too little, too late? The jury's still out. We certainly hope that. Well, actually, let me tell you something else. We met with the vice president yesterday from HB, and I flat out asked him, "Are you still saying you're going to be done, not done, substantially complete by February 3rd?" And he said, "Absolutely." So, I changed from cautiously optimistic to be hopeful.
Hopefully optimistic.
But there's still, I mean, at least, let me tell something else. I'll get back. There's something else. They're going to bring a national organization, a national contractor electric for low voltage, because that's our weak link right now. They're all weak links, but that's the real weak link. And they're going to bring them in, they're going to work 7 days a week overtime. So,
That's impressive.
yeah, I just wish they started a little earlier, but okay. We'll take it. So we're hoping that by doing that, at least, now one thing we're really gonna have to watch out is quality, because what happens undoubtedly, when you start stacking trades and rushing, they start getting a little sloppy. So, but that's our job, and we're certainly gonna keep.
How many people do you have checking on the quality?
We have one guy full-time. That's all he does. Yeah, he's there all day, he's processing everything, and he's probably, forgive me, he's probably our best project manager on that project, in my opinion. Now, he might not agree with it, but I really think he's very, very good, very qualified, and he's helping them along, because he's got a real good eye, so when he sees something, he points out to them, hey, we need to fix this. So I think it's working real well. He's working also with them, sitting down with them on the schedule, to try to develop a schedule that makes sense. So, but overall, the meeting with the Vice President, Travis, was a good meeting. It was certainly, they finally starting to get a little behind the progress. I did ask them, I haven't received an answer, but I did ask them to put their money where their mouth is and start, maybe we can out the liquidated damages. I have not received a message yet. He said he was going to talk to the president, and I was hoping to get an answer before the meeting, but that's still out there in terms of something else maybe we can negotiate. If they don't, really what we want to get is a little more leverage to have them finish on time. Now, contractually, there's nothing we can do, but we can certainly handle the fact that their reputation carries a lot of weight. So, And they did tell us, Mr. Gallardo and Rick there too were there, they did tell us that this is the top priority in El Paso right now, is the top project that they're most concerned about. And so we'll see. So moving on, here they are.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, Mr. Alexander, I forgot to.
I'm just a comment, not
Yes,
so
sir.
much a question. But given that all of a sudden you come up, can you back slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, it goes, you're gonna go from you're gonna roughly double your size,
Yes, sir.
okay? Out of an area that already is heavily involved in using a lot. So the numbers are there,
Yes, sir.
okay, as far as bodies. Just to say this, number one, I'm worried about quality in terms of performance, the ability to perform. Number one, we need to pay attention. And number two, 7 days a week, 12 hours a day sucks.
Oh, I
Okay?
know.
Because people start to, I've worked those things. I
Absolutely.
don't care how good you are, by the end of the second week, you're not doing as good. Okay, so let's
Yeah.
let's not try to get ahead of the game. I'm just
No, I totally
don't-
understand that.
Don't get ahead of the game and let your quality suffer.
Absolutely.
Just because people are
And
tired.
safety. And safety, because when you start going all those long hours, that makes a big impact.
Okay, that's all I want to
Mr.
say.
But that's a very good point. When Mr. Lovat actually was there, I specifically asked you, are you gonna put more, what's the word I'm looking for? More crews? And he said yes. So I'm anticipating this, well, at least I'm hoping, maybe it's wishful thinking, but he did say yes, that, one crew would work 8 hours, the other crew would work maybe 8 hours. That's what I'm hoping, because you're absolutely right. When you have this kind of intensity, I'm mostly concerned about quality, but also safety as well, because that's when things start happening. Did I answer your question?
No, there's not a question, I'm just
Well,
telling you
yes, the
that.
statement of fact,
Yeah,
yeah.
the quality, when all of a sudden, and I'm.
Yes, sir.
And I'm just, it's amazing that all of a sudden here, when everybody's building like this, and all of a sudden then you find 50 people more that are quality of the equivalent quality that's been available. That's
Right.
amazing that you had 50 quality people just sitting around not available.
Well, I think a lot of it does have to do with the pressure they put on that, but also two things, and this is speculative. One of them is, I think they're wrapping up some projects, so they can bring more people in. And it's purely speculative, I don't want this to be a fact.
That's good.
That's one thing I suspect. The other one is this national company they're gonna bring in. It's a company, they're a national company, HB is. So they have a lot of contractors they're comfortable with. They actually, I think these guys are coming from Arizona, and they're actually gonna move here. So and I'm sure that's not gonna be cheap. So I can kind of see why they would be we're bringing in that kind of manpower. But in order to achieve what they need to do, absolutely.
Just saying that that's what we're looking for.
Yes, sir.
Now, how you do it is your problem. You tell
Absolutely.
them that's their problem, this is what, You're
Absolutely.
gonna
That's
be
what
watching.
we're there for.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
and so, they do what they gotta do. It's
Uh-huh.
just,
Okay. So back to, like I said, we're all catching up a little bit. Now, I'm so proud about Northwest. I think it really looks terrific, and I can show you some pictures. These are some final product from Northwest that we did from the drone last week. And as you can tell, it's absolutely beautiful building. And these are just, again, these are some pictures I thought you would
That's
like.
probably Dr. Graham's favorite right now.
Right there? It is a beautiful
College
building.
logo.
Yeah. And here's the one, I like this one because it kind of shows you in context with the whole campus, how nicely this incorporates with the whole.
It has a campus feel to it.
Yeah, exactly, thank you. And now when on safety update, we already had one more. It was a guy lifting, he kind of hurt his back, but he was able to go back to work. They put him, there was no lost time, again, it was pretty minor. But since he was reportable, I felt compelled to let you know. And so we have 4 now, but they're all very minor, at 474,756 hours.
That's amazing.
It's been amazing, I know. I'm really hoping not to jinx it because it's absolutely amazing. I really think. As far as the schedule, nothing's changed really. We're still going for the Mission and the Library Plus lot. It's gonna be tight. It's gonna be tight, but we're still holding hope, particularly on Mission's case. I really hope that we can get it done. And Rio Grande, we're still looking at the fall maybe last year now. So overall budget, we have two changes on the budget that I need to let you know. One was we needed, and Dr. Serrata, you were the one actually originally brought it up as far as doing that landscape project at Trans Mountain, because there was an area up at Trans Mountain that it really needed to be finished, it was just dirt. And so Dr. Serrata came up with the idea that, well, maybe we can do a small landscaping project. And in order to do that, we didn't obviously want to go to the same contractor. And so Mr. Lobato took the lead on that by hiring the architect and the landscape architect. So in order to do that, as you well recall, Trans Mountain was very short in funds. So what we did is we actually went to Valle Verde, and we pulled out of the construction contingency, we pulled out 125, which is the overall budget that Mr. Lovato is managing, and pull it into physical plant at Trans Mountain. That obviously caused us to go down to 1%, but this held steady at 1%. But this is a completely, nothing, we didn't go get more money, this is all within the same budget. We're basically just transferring, moving money from one pot to the other. The other change we made is, and this is actually very good news, the bond interest is actually higher than we anticipated. So what we end up doing is we have right now the bond interest is earning $325,679 more than we anticipated. So what we did is, well, let's reduce the college project reserve fund and maintain this number the same. And so that's what we did. So now this one is at 3.2 million, the bond interest, which is the accurate number that we've earned in interest, and we lowered the project reserve fund and basically just give it back to the reserve fund. So those are the two major changes we had this last period.
Excuse me, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Shaughnessy. Okay, so we finish everything, and we have $10,000 in the project reserve fund, and everything's done. What do we do with the $10,000?
People shopping.
Well, it goes towards the kind of projects that you just saw a minute ago. So
Okay, in
any
other
kind-
words, we establish a contingency fund.
Yes, sir.
Unscheduled, uncommitted.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So,
You're not gonna give it back to somebody.
Well,
Okay, that's the
we give it
right
back to
answer.
somebody, assuming there is a project that needs to be done, then it's something.
No, we're
we
not
look at our
gonna, we're
budget.
gonna use it, we're not gonna return the money back.
Put it back to the college.
so one of the areas that I have a concern about that I had shared with Dr. Serrata is that in the Trans Mountain, we have that land that we are partnering with the Flex Across America, is it called? And the whole project where the flag is and all of that, that entire area belongs to EPCC. We've had some wonderful, wonderful activities there, like Veterans Day. There was a huge parade. It was a partnership with Fort Bliss. There was a lot of people presence there. And nowhere in there is there any indication that that belongs to EPCC or that we have a partnership with EPCC. You know, because there was somebody sitting next to us that made mention of, oh, it's great that Fort Bliss has this area. And I said, no, it's not Fort Bliss area, this is EPCC, you know? So I was talking to Dr. Serrata, and I ran it by Jimmy Melberg, and that we need a nice big sign there that talks about the partnership that we have with Fort Bliss or with Flex or whoever we have, because it's really encompassing all the veterans, and they keep adding to that. It's getting really, really nice. But again, nowhere does it say that that's a partnership with EPCC, and we need to get credit for that. It's not
Well,
your
let me-
job, but you
but
know,
let me
maybe
answer-
We
since
could
you
roll
got.
that into the wayfinding.
That's exactly what I was
Do
gonna
a
suggest.
monument sign
Uh,
at the entrance.
I just yesterday, it's funny you mentioned it, because just yesterday I was checking on the status because I hadn't heard about the wayfinding. They're waiting on some final reports. They should be able to release something in January, but we are doing pretty good in the budget so far on that. So we might, if you'd like me to, I can certainly tack that on, something like that. Of course, I'll have to get the board, I don't know what the process is, but have you all tell me that you wanna do that.
But it's a perfect corner for, it's right outside the freeway and.
Yeah, that's a
you know,
good
that,
idea.
What's the name of that road?
Gateway North, no?
Well, Gateway North, but yeah.
Diane.
Diane, uh-huh. nice big one with a big light
Yeah.
that
we have
says
power there.
EPCC.
We can work on a concept
Yeah,
with that,
let's see
Dr.
what we can
as
come
part of
up
the
with.
wayfinding.
Okay, okay. So is it okay if I tell them, or should I wait somebody to formally tell them?
I think you can start spreading
Can I start
awareness.
working on that? Okay, good, because that'll give me a chance.
The board said do.
Yeah, that's, because that way we can incorporate into the package and then issue all that at the same time.
Be a better
So I
deal
think it'll
for
be a
all.
better deal, yeah. Okay, good.
Does it have to be on an agenda, or is it because it's Trans Mountain that we're discussing?
Well, I guess, is it part of the project?
And this will come out of wayfinding, see, let me show you.
I know what he's
this
talking
real
about.
quick. There's a wayfinding, see right here, 1.7 million?
Mhm.
We-
For
I'm
signage.
almost sure.
Yeah, but I don't know if
Don't
this
quote me on
wayfinding.
That we have some money left, so we probably could squeeze that in. Because remember, at one point, we were thinking about these real tall signs that were gonna be very expensive, now we don't have to do that. So I'm hoping that we should be able to squeeze that in there. So if y'all okay with
But
it.
don't make it a little itty bitty sign.
Well, it won't be.
It'll be
it
the
won't-
largest that we can.
The largest we can do, yeah, but that'll be great, because now I could squeeze that into the package,
Yeah.
and we'll probably get a better price that way.
Okay.
So, action item, this is bleachers for Mission Del Paso, and, the proposed action item is to formally approve a proposed change order to Flintco in the amount not to exceed $175,000 for the purchase and installation of bleachers for the flex room for the upcoming Mission Del Paso flex room building construction project. Now, the obvious question you have is, why did we do this as part of the construction? Because in the other projects we did, these bleachers were part of the construction. This was a decision by the architect, and we didn't object to it, that we were, if you recall, at the time, we were concerned about the costs, to pull it out and put it into furniture and then just pay for the furniture. Now, it turns out we do have the money in furniture to cover it. So what we decided to do, well, let's just put it back onto the contract. It makes a lot more sense to be part of the whole building warranty, and they are responsible for the installation. So,
Are those the ones that you pull out?
yes, actually, I got a
You can
picture
show
I
them?
can show you, yeah. It's, so this is the area we're talking about, the flex current, this is the main entrance here. So this is the drawing, actual shop drawing for the bleachers, and this is what it looks like, and this is, they call it telescopic. So what it does is, this is what it looks like, something like this. It's not gonna look exactly like this, but where it sticks out, and then if you don't need the seats, they fold those backrests horizontally, and then everything stacks, and they'll just push it all out to the back wall, so it frees up the whole area. So, and the cost actually for these came out from the contractor less than what they had quoted the architect. Not by a whole lot, by about $15,000, but still, so we feel this is a real good number. So we're basically asking you to approve that.
I so moved, Madam Chair.
Well, before there's a motion, would you kindly read it, Pam?
Sure. Item 5.1, Mr. Pettis, Program Manager, ECM, will request the Board of Trustees to formally approve a proposed change order, PCO, to Flintco LLC in an amount not to exceed $175,000 for the purchase and installation of bleachers for the Flexitorium room for the upcoming Mission Del Paso Classroom Lab Building Construction Project.
We have a motion by
I so
Mr.
moved that it be approved.
Second by Mr. Oxer. Any discussion? Agree? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Motion carries.
Okay, let's see, y'all have a great holidays, and I'll see you next year.
Thank you.
Do you have an additional item, 5.2 on the agenda? Would you like me to go ahead and read that now? Item 5.2, the Board of Trustees will consider and give direction to the President and appropriate staff on the financing method for future capital projects.
So I asked that this item be placed on the agenda. During the last meeting, we received quite a bit of information, detailed information. I really appreciate all the work that staff put into getting that information in the presentation that was provided. Thank you so much. I know that takes a lot of time and a lot of work. And so the purpose of asking that this be placed on the agenda is, I know we had talked about moving forward with a bond. When was the right time? Is it the right time? And really bringing it back in light of the fact that we just had an election and how positive that the community responded to both the city bond and of course to the Isleta ISD bond. And so really what I was hoping that maybe the board could have, and I was hoping for the majority of the board to be here, but we do have a quorum to move this forward, but to really let the staff know, to give direction. Is this something that we as a board would like the staff to start working on? They'll be needing to know pretty quickly in order to move that for the November 2020 election? Or shall we go ahead, wait, revisit this at a later time, and so that we can put this on the back burner? This is not something that's a priority that we would need to consider, and that the staff would need to be working on. And so that's the reason why I wanted on, really just so that we could digest the information that was provided and have that discussion here. I didn't know how anybody else
And
felt about
definitely
it.
the discussion is warranted. Do you feel that maybe we need to revisit it for the time frame or?
Well, the concern that I have is putting this off for another month, when we do have the majority of the board here. I would like everybody here to make that decision, is that the time frame is just really close. It's cutting it close, and it's really not fair, I think, for staff at that time if we say yes to go. So I think we probably need to make a decision now. Again, if we are considering this, and really the time frame that I'm looking at is November 2020. You know, I'll happy to share sort of my thoughts on that.
Sure.
You know, from my perspective, just you know, seeing how well that the city had done and how the community had responded and how supportive that they were of those bonds made me rethink this. And I'm really thinking more of a big picture sort of aspect of it. We're at the tail end of the master plan program in terms of where we are with a lot of these buildings. Some of them won't be done, so we know that. Another component to that, of course, is the student enrollment, and really exceeding that and going forward and really ensuring that we have enough of those students to be another sell, if you will, to the community of the need for that. There's no doubt in my mind that I think that the students and the college really deserve this opportunity. I understand where this would you know, place the taxpayers and of course what this means, but I'd also like to be mindful of, and one of the concerns I guess that I also have, so those are the pros, but some of the concerns I have is just the short period of time. I've been assured by Dr. Serrata this is something, and I have no doubt that the staff could absolutely do and engage in and move forward on, but in my mind too, I think it's fair to just give it a little bit of a pause, to think that through and maybe not rush through it. I think when we last sat here with Dr. Serrata, and please jump in when you feel it's appropriate, is that really the appropriate time frame may be 2022. And really to look at the numbers of students. 2022, that's a state gubernatorial race. We have the presidential election next year, but we have the state gubernatorial race in 2020. Really going back and reevaluating where we are with student enrollment. And then of course by that time, as has been indicated, the master plan and those projects have already been completed. And so if you will, it really makes a tight package and really a tight sell and message to the community that this is where we are. You know, I struggle with the thought of really thinking big picture and really having the momentum that we do right now, right? And I'm wanting to push that through, but I don't want to be rushed with it and not really packaged with a good message to pull that forward. I don't doubt that the community would support it, but I just want to make sure that it's done right and we really can back that up with the information that we need to make that sell to our constituents.
So I certainly appreciate Ms. Sanchez's sense of urgency and the passion for the institution and what we're trying to accomplish. I share it, everyone at the table shares it, as well as our colleagues and the staff that's with us. Initially, when we went forward and we started the master plan process in 2013, I'll remind everyone a quick summary that came back. The initial master plan, we contracted with the Smith Group, a national firm, as well as Mijares and Mora, a local firm, to move forward. It was an extensive process. We completed the master plan process in 2015. So it went on for a significant period of time. This was my third master plan process. I anticipated that the number would come in large. My idea of large was about $400 million. It came in at $729 million of assessed needs. We had indicated and asked the Smith Group to break that up into phases, just based on an understanding of the community, and that wasn't a number that was tolerable. The $729 million included $103 million that was classified as other. Mr. Gallardo, who ran point for us on that, along with Ms. Shaughnessy and their team, we immediately let them know, we don't know what other means, take that out. And so we looked at $626 million, and again, breaking that up into two phases. The two phases were $225 million and 371, I'm sorry, $245 million and 371 million. So even the first one, the $245 million, is what I told the board, that really is our master plan from my perspective. And we broke it down into three phases as well, phase 1A, phase 1B, and phase 1C. We at that time anticipated that we would be able to do phase 1A, which was gonna be approximately $60 million. Ms. Urbina, we were very fortunate that as our financial advisor, given what we had worked on with Ms. Shaughnessy's leadership and the teams of building up fund balance and hitting the market at a period of time, we were able to refund the 2002 and the 2007 series bonds that the college had. We owed about, I want to say, $30,000 in 2002, and we owed $30 million in 2007. I don't remember, we owed a few $100,000 in the 2002 series bonds.
Very small, 2001,
Yes.
yeah, it was a small.
And so we refunded that, and then we issued just under $120 million of bonds. Again, with by refunding the $30 million, we saved the institution $4.2 million in interest alone, based on hitting it. And so we were able to expand by doing almost $120 million. We were able to do phase 1A and phase 1C. We put those together. Phase 1B initially was the remaining $150 million, approximately $150 million. And the plan from back in 2012 was that in 2020 we would go forward with the bond. At that time, the projection showed the institution, mind you, we were coming off the Great Recession. It hit Texas in 2011. Our enrollment in the fall of 2011 surged to just under 31,000 students. So based on those trend analysis, we anticipated that the college would continue to grow at a rather significant pace. And so all systems would go, and then the economy strengthened rather dramatically, and enrollment has somewhat flattened. By the way, I'm very pleased to say that after we finished the entire enrollment process for the fall, the last data I saw was that we were up 15 students for the fall. So yes, on census date, on that snapshot, official reporting date, we were down 150 students approximately, but during the course of the mini-mesters, and we were able to gain enrollment, so we actually ended up slightly in head count. It's, you really want a strong enrollment going in, and so I'm torn, I really am. Because the plan the entire time was to move forward in 2020. So I'll remind the board, and actually every board member that's here is there, my evaluation in January of this year presented the timeline and said, here's where we are, and a lot of things changed. We had the former chair of the board run for state rep, obviously got elected, we have a new board member, and so we tried to bring the entire board back together to get a decision. At that time we saw enrollment patterns, as I said, somewhat flattened. Initially, we had said if we wait, we probably need to wait to the next presidential. That was prior to last gubernatorial in 2018, and by no small measure, Congressman O'Rourke's impact on that election of having such a high turnout in an off presidential year election, that I truly believe that if we delay, we don't have to delay to 24. I think we can do it in 22. I think you'll see another heavy turnout. Heavy turnout favors individuals who tend to support education coming out in heavy turnout elections. And so if the board so gives us direction to delay, my recommendation would be to delay no later than the November of 2022. That does a couple of things for the institution. We complete the entire bond project by next November. Fingers crossed, Mr. Pettis, Mr. Herrera. That gives us the spring of 21, the fall of 21, and the spring of 22 to gauge enrollment. The board then determines and gives us direction now that we will actually begin working on it this coming spring and start preparing for that. But direction of saying this is where we want to go, not officially calling the bond until probably the spring of 22 for November of 22. But Ms. Urbina's here to additionally, there was a question that was asked of Ms. Shaughnessy that we were not able to respond to, and Ms. Urbina's here as well. We presented to you at the last Facilities and Finance meeting some of the deferred maintenance projects that we have, to the tune of approximately $25 million. We also talked about utilizing general use fee to address that. We anticipated that $1.50, was it, Ms. Shaughnessy?
We were looking at.
Could mitigate that, or could handle that. And there's some reluctance, and I truly appreciate the board's reluctance to put that on the students, on the backs of the students and through tuition and fees. We have raised the general use fee. It was $10 per credit hour when I started in 2012. It is currently $20 per credit hour.
I had that with me, I apologize.
That is a long summary. I apologize for being so
I guess we
verbose.
can also, again, I look at things from a different lens because of the facilities, that what more can we do to improve our facilities? Because we're not just, we can't let the buildings continue to deteriorate. We also need to have them looking nice, like these new ones are going to be, because again, you've seen the facilities that these kids are coming from. And we need to, and even if you go to some of the people that are thinking that they're in competition with EPCC, which we have no competition, but, they have some very nice facilities, and so, we can open more programs, given more availability of funds for improving more of the facilities. But I do agree, with Ms. Sanchez that there's that a momentum for people, other than my husband, approving. Raymond keeps thinking, are we getting in debt as a community that we're not going to be able to get out of and all that, but there is, is this a good time to take advantage of that momentum and be able to secure what we need? I don't know. Will we have that kind of momentum further down? I guess you can predict better than the rest of us.
Maria Urbina with Hilltop Securities. Unfortunately, I don't have that
Crystal
ball. But
You've done pretty good without it.
But your sentiment is one that is felt by everyone. I think that every issue that I know that is thinking about going out for bond election is facing the same questions in terms of, will we have the community support to be able to back our projects? I will tell you that I think doing the due diligence of taking some time and really being able to inform your constituents of what you're planning on doing is the key to a successful bond election. So, I think that's really, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to be able to do that. And once you have that, and you have you can gauge what they're willing to take, then you can proceed with the bond election. But there's been a lot of bond elections around in El Paso County. City of El Paso just passed a bond, Isleta, and I think EPISD might be considering something. It's something that I think you're gonna have to consider at some point, and it's just when do you really want to do it? But
So,
unfortunately, I'm sorry, I can't.
You don't have that crystal ball to do. But one of the things that I've seen, because we run bonds probably around the clock at SISD, but one of the things that I see is, and even Isleta did it. He comes from Socorro, so he learned, but it's that you anchor something that's of interest to quite a few in the community, whether it be the staff or the students, and just to throw as an example, there's a lot of, and maybe not here, but at the high schools, I hear it a lot of interest in soccer. Can we provide a soccer team or some kind of incentive that students that are, I asked the coach the other day, how many students do you know that we lose from this community to go play soccer somewhere else, in a college somewhere else? And I see him on the agenda, so I'm gonna ask him, because I had already asked him. But something that, like the air conditioner, who's gonna vote against refrigerated air for the kids when they're all coming home complaining that they're sweating all day long in the classroom? So parents go out and vote for things like that. We got overcrowded classrooms or schools, they're gonna vote for other schools. So we have to figure out what is it that we want to tell the community, because we're gonna have this, you need to come out and support this. And not just the community, but our staff. You know, whether it's improving their work area, their facilities, or, you know, but we certainly need to have another session of dialogue just about that to see what we think we can decide on. Yes,
May I add something else? I think in terms of looking forward, and in terms of planning a bond election, typically what I see, for example, school district, right? What they do is they obviously form, group of parents, obviously they come together to form a committee to figure out what it is that you wanna do. And then obviously they move on and they come up with a list of projects. Well, I think in your case, right, because 3 years ago you issued about $100 and some million. The execution and the implementation of that bond, even though it wasn't a bond election, it's not gonna be paid by taxes, it will be successful, completed at some point. That is a story that you're gonna be able to tell in the future for your tax, for a bond election. Now, if they were to ask you, well, why don't you pay it with tuition revenues? Well, I will tell you that in terms of the revenue side of things, the community college is already highly leveraged in terms of your revenue credit. And so, if you could go out and issue revenue bonds, but you might be subject to a down rate. And that's just the reality of it. And so that's something that you could tell, people in the future if you're really planning on going out to the voters.
and it does take a lot of planning and a big committee and accountability committee, because that's one of the things I think that when you sell it, that, promises made are gonna be the promises kept, which is, something that parents trust you with that, and they go out and vote. Some of them reluctantly, but they vote in. But perhaps we even need to do the initial study ourselves to see, not ourselves as a board, but with a committee, to see what else is out there that we need. I know that's what we do over there. We take people and visit every school, and all of a sudden everybody came up with, we need these extra rooms that are similar to the gyms or something, an activity room or something, and then, they put it on the list, and then you get together and look at the list and see what you eliminate and how much it's gonna cost, and determine but it's a structured process that we all agree on, and it has representation from all over the district.
So direction from the board on the time frame. That's really Ms. Sanchez's direction, and direction that we as a staff need to know.
So what were you?
For me, I thought a lot about it, and I would, I don't wanna lose that momentum, I really don't, and I do in a lot of ways, know that our students and deserve a very nice campus, great facilities, not only our students but our faculty, but I wanna be prudent on that approach. I can tell you just from my constituents, when I was out there meeting members of the public, they're very supportive of the community college. Nowhere had I heard anything negative about the college, and so I do feel that that there would be a lot of support for it. I don't doubt that. But I think that it would be prudent to just pull back the reins a little bit and to wait, so that we can build in that time frame. I think, Dr. Serrata, the perspective that you brought, that we did have a change in board leadership, within the past year, which does make a difference, I think, would give us the opportunity to really kind of hone in on that message, maybe also for staff to really help us carve that message and really be strong for the next big election, which would be 2022. So that would be my sentiment, is to hold back and to wait. But that's just me.
And then present or have it vote in 2022.
Yes, ma'am. And then maybe along the way, once we get closer, I don't want to wait too long, but or at an annual basis, but maybe every 6 months or on a quarterly basis, we can get just some sort of a report of like, this is where we are, this is what we've done, just, even if it's just the initial plan of like, this is where we're gonna go, it's given this direction for today, that would be helpful as well.
Ms. Sanchez, I hear you loud and clear, and it's a similar process that we engaged when we started the master planning process in the summer of 2013. And so that started in 13, we finished in 15. We don't have to start the whole we have a master plan, but we do need to reconvene, and we can begin that in 2020.
So on the basis for the new, if this is something that we may be looking at for November 2022, is the Smith study the study that we would be looking at, or do we need to engage another
So
study?
the Smith Group, and the study from the Smith Group is what would be, it would be our starting point. And so that obviously is gonna be 7 years old as well, so, but it's a starting point for us to begin with. We did phase 1A and phase 1C of that. They do have in the master plan, what else they envision going forward, and so we use that as a starting point. We can also look at and study it together as a board, and I'm happy to work with the board to set up a time and have a work session that we as the board, you all as the board, and with me and the staff, go through it and say, is this still relevant?
I think that would be super
Yes,
helpful, and I think that
We'll plan
actually
that.
makes me feel a little bit more comfortable on where we need to be for 2022, because we haven't had that exercise. You indicated it's been 7 years, and so we gotta revisit that, I think. I think that's my.
We did, and part of what we did with the Smith Group is the board, Mr. Uxer, you and I went, Dr. Graham, I think you joined us too, but we went and saw different campuses that they had worked on. Specifically, we went to the Maricopa district in Phoenix. You see a lot of resemblance of this large Valle Verde building of I think it was Gateway Community College. Good friend Stephen Gonzalez, who's president there and hosted us. We saw a lot, and we took pieces from different institutions that seemed to be, that resonated for what we were trying to accomplish. Staff, Mr. Smith joined me, Dr. Avon joined us because of the IT component as well. Mr. Lobato, Mr. Gallardo were on several of these. So we went forward and did that. I think that would be a good exercise for the board.
I think that was an eye-opener, like, I remember, Ms. Solis came back, she wanted this $20 million classrooms, and so all
We
this.
reel her in a little bit.
Yeah, we did, hold on, but I think it's, and the one I went, I didn't go on those, but, that's when we had a couple of board members go see, East Lake High School and
Yes.
Pebble Hills, because they were just, just as impressive. So there was, but I think that that's an excellent idea, and it can also be planned on some of the newer facilities.
Madam Chair, well, I know that we have some friends of the college that are in the marketing business that have organized bond elections that we might want to bring in for consultation, pro bono, of course.
Yes.
That's a favorite
Yes,
part of
pro
my
bono.
activities.
But then we'll get it pro bono.
How to get it pro bono, but we do have, and I think it would be wise to also consult with those that have had the experience in the marketing part of it. And that way they can give us some guidance.
Yes, of course.
I'm sorry, so, we've been involved in multiple bond programs throughout the state, and just to, and we watch the bond market in the state, not from the financial perspective, but everything that is happening, and it's a tremendous sentiment statewide, and all of the bonds are really passing. And there was a few years when the Tea Party was in power, that everything was collapsing. Now it's sort of the other side. So I wanted to throw that in. Right now it's a good time for the bond, for people to, because the economy is buoyant, so people are, have a
Positive.
very, very positive outlook. Who knows what's gonna happen later. But the other thing I wanted to say from what is really yours is, we understand that most of the 1B program is comprised of improving existing facilities. And one of the things that I would suggest is that you, along with the expertise of the staff, they're pretty taxed with what they have, look at a third-party company to do a little closer assessment of what you have. When we were hired and we were given budgets that came from the master plan, we kind of started really digging in. there were significant changes that had to occur. I mean, back and forth, we actually lost one project at Mount Sinai, if you recall.
But it's not last forever.
No, it's, well, put it on the shelf because we had
We
to
put it back.
use those funds to improve on something else. But, so, you already have committees formed on the staff that have been working on the projects, and there's a tremendous synergy there. I mean, there's a lot of collaboration, a lot of good things happening. So there's just a concept there that you have that in place. If you hire a third-party company to help you run the actual numbers perhaps, and then kind of just defining more accurately what the new spaces, the refurbished space will look like and whatnot. But you could, I'm not sure, because you put money on things and you can make it happen, but I say 6 months, I mean about 6 months probably, would be probably enough to put something together. I'm just saying from the perspective of what we've seen out there, bond facilitation. Coming up with a package of projects, more closely costs from the perspective of the master plan looks at 10,000 feet, you want to look a little perhaps closer so you have defined projects, and then put it together for the marketing folks.
And it takes a while to sell it to the community, because
Right.
again, once you finally get it all put together, then that package has to be delivered to where the voters are gonna agree on it, and that takes all of us, and it will take quite a bit of selling time to get everybody educated on what it is that the bond, and all kinds of meetings and visits and knocking on doors and making sure that everybody's aware of what it is that we're selling. And Carrie's getting all nervous. But yeah, you're right, it takes about the 6 months to put everything together and then another chunk of time to present it. But it does merit further discussion, I agree.
Ms.
So-
Sanchez, I'm sorry, I
Yeah,
don't
go
want
ahead.
to, do you want to formalize the direction that you're going to provide?
I would, no, I think we could just do no action. I think you
I have
received the
direction.
right?
Yes, ma'am.
You have the direction in terms of just the time frame. Again, this is from this group. Not everyone is here. But in all fairness, I mean, waiting another month we're really cutting it close, and I don't think that would be appropriate or fair, and quite frankly, not the way we should be rushing into things, considering the timelines here and just the seriousness of it and what we need to be looking at.
Do you suggest that we put it up for discussion when the full board is?
We could as a follow-up. I mean, I don't have any qualms about that. My position is probably not going to change. But my concern though is that there's a different change in course from the board, and that it really cuts those timeframes a lot shorter, and I don't think that's fair for our staff, for the staff for the community college. That's my take. I don't know, that's just me.
Mr. Officer, how do you feel?
I think I'd like to hear some more.
Like to hear some?
Yeah.
So you're okay with another further discussion in January?
Yeah, yes.
Yes,
We can talk about it all day long, but it'll still be, I need to absorb some things.
Okay. Ms.
But-
Robles?
Well, definitely, I think it's something that needs to be discussed at length and everything considered. And, but I do believe that the message has gone to the president so that he can start
Yes,
moving
ma'am.
in that direction so that we don't lose any time. And definitely it should be put up on the agenda, and hopefully by then we will be able to have everybody present.
Okay.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you ready for our executive session?
It's,
There's a
Do we have
item right underneath the first paragraph.
Where's the item?
It's right under the, right before the call to order, Ms. Sanchez.
Under the executive session items, and it lists them.
Oh, I see, I'm sorry. Okay, sorry, didn't see that. Didn't say executive.
Is that an executive item?
It is.
Okay, so I'll go ahead and read it. The Board of Trustees may conduct an executive or closed session pursuant to Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code for one or more of the following reasons: consultation with its attorney to seek or receive legal advice or consultation regarding pending or contemplated litigation for any purpose authorized by law, discussion about the value or transfer of real property, discussion about prospective gift or donation, consideration of specific personnel matters, discussion about security personnel advices, or discussion of certain economic development matters. The board may also announce it will go into executive session on any item listed on this agenda if the subject matter is permitted for a closed session by provisions of Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code. Any vote regarding these items shall be taken in open session. The Board of Trustees will discuss the legal rights and obligations arising from various agreements involving the construction of the Bayou Verde campus pursuant to Section 551.071 of the Texas Government Code.
If I just say something,
Okay, the time is 5:44 p.m. The meeting has been reconvened.
And
there-
there's nothing posted for regular, right?
Nope.
Nope, okay, so I think we can just adjourn.
Meeting adjourned, no
Meeting
need
adjourned,
necessary.
you don't have to have a motion. Thank you.
Meeting adjourned.